Hello, fellow viewers. Welcome back. Today's topic, we're going to be solving real-world problems with linear inequalities. Yeah. So before we begin, let's just do a little practice to know what's going on. So this is an inequality. So we need to find the inequality for A. Now it might look very perplexing to you, but it's all right. We can actually write this differently. We can just take it out. So since we know that 3 minus a is less than or equal to a minus 4, we can write it out as a separate inequality first. Alright, we've got that. And since we also know that a minus 4 is less than or equal to 9 minus 2a, we can also write that down as a separate inequality first. Okay, now we got our two separate inequalities done. Can start working with them one by one. So over here on this side, I'm going to bring my a over to the left side and my constants over to the right side. So this will be negative 2a is less than or equal to negative 7. And then if we just work it normally, we'll find out that a is actually more than or equal to 7 over 2. Now why did I change this inequality sign over here? If you happen to multiply by a negative number or divide by a negative number, your inequality sign has to change to the other one. So let's just say, hold on. Let's just say we have an inequality like x is, negative x is more than 7. Don't know how that's gonna work out. Okay, it's okay. So if I want this to write as a positive x, I'll just multiply this by negative 1. By doing so, I will have to write this as x is less than negative 7. Understood? Alright, let's continue. Since we got a is more than or equal to 7 over 2, we can move on to the other side now. So over here, I'm going to move my a to the left side again and my constants to the right side. So this will be 3a is less than or equal to 9 plus 4, which is 13. So a will be less than or equal to 13 over 3. Alright, we've got that. So we can now recombine these two terms, these two inequalities together. So we'll get 7 over 2 is less than or equal to a, which is less than or equal to 13 over 3. Then we can draw this on a number line. So 7 over 2 is actually just 3.5. So hold on, let me just label everything. Okay, so we'll just label our 3.5 over here. Wait, no, we'll write it as 7 over 2. Yeah, we'll leave it as the original. Then over here is actually 13 over 3. Somewhere around there, you can just make an estimation. So we can just label this by drawing two colored dots and joining a line. See, we're done. Done. We just finished this inequality. Okay, so now let's move on to the real world problem. A school has a budget of $2,500 to send X number of students for an educational trip. The cost of the trip is $12 per student, in addition to a total transportation cost of $500. Okay, so for now we have the school's budget. We also have the price per student, and we have the transportation cost. So for part A, we have to express the total cost of the educational trip in terms of X. So the total cost of the educational trip will actually be the price for for every student plus the transportation fee. We don't know how many students they are, but we know that the total price for each student will be actually 12 times X dollars, which will give us 12X. So we know that's for students, and plus the transportation cost, that will give us 12X plus 500. So this will be our total price, 12X plus $500. Okay, just going to move this up here. Okay, that will be the total cost for the educational trip. Now let's move on to part B. Form an inequality in X if only the budget of $2,500 is to be used for the trip. Okay, we know we have to spend this amount, okay? But we know that we cannot exceed 2,500 because that's the school's budget. So we know that 12x plus 500 has to be lesser or equal to 2,500. And that will be my part B answer. That will be my inequality. This is my inequality. Now let's move on to part C. Hence, find the maximum number of students that the school can send for the educational trip. Okay. This is just like your normal inequality. Just gotta isolate the variable and just find how much the variable is. So we're just gonna leave 12x on this side, but we're gonna bring the 500 over. So we're going to minus 500 on both sides. So that will give us 12x is less than or equal to 2,000. And then we divide the whole thing by 12. So 2,000 divided by 12 will actually give us 166 whole to 2/3. Now, as you can see, the maximum number of students cannot be 166 students and one student is just 2/3. Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't work that way. So you just gotta find the next possible whole number, which you have to go down because you can't go up. You can't exceed this number. So the maximum, therefore, maximum number of students who can go for the trip is 166 students. There you go. Maximum of 166 students can go for the trip. All right, let's move on to the next question. Oh, grades. Okay. To receive a grade B for a course, a candidate must have a mean score of at least 80 but less than 90 in 3 examination papers. The full score in each paper is 100. Jinlan scored 83 and 75 in the first 2 papers. What should she score next? Oh wait, what score should she have in the 3rd paper in order to get a grade B for the course? Alright, for this one, we have to compare. So, to get things straight first, what is a mean score? It's basically something like your average. So basically, you sum up all the values. Then you divide by the number of values you have. So that will equal to your mean. Alright. So, I'm just going to let Jinlan's 3rd paper score be X. So I'm just going to write her 3rd paper score as X, okay? Because I don't know what's her paper score. I need to find out how much she can get for her 3rd paper. So to get a grade B for her, she needs to have a score of at least 80. So X can be more than or equal to 80, but it also has to be less than 90. So it has to be less than 90. No, wait, sorry, that's for the grade B. Okay, for her to get a grade B. So her mean score has to be this score over here. This is a mean score. It has to be more than or equal to 80, but it must be less than 90. So Jinlan's mean score is actually just the sum of her values, which is right now 83 plus 75 plus a 3rd paper score, which I said is X. And since there are 3 values here, so we just divide it by 3. Okay, so her mean score has to be more than 80 or equal to 80. It has to be less than 90. So this is what the inequality looks like right now. But we had to find out how much she can get for X. So what do we do in order to do this? You can technically split it up, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to work everything on one inequality now. first things first, I'm just going to multiply all the sides by 3. So 240 is less than or equal to 83 plus 75 plus x, which is lesser than 270. Okay, you've got that done. Now I'm just going to add the things together first, just so it doesn't look messy. Okay, now we have that done. We're going to minus 158 on every side so that we can just isolate the x. So 240 minus 158 will get 82. And 270 minus 158 will get 112. So x has to be greater or equal to 82 and less than 112 in order for Jinlan to get a grade B. But we know that the paper does not exceed, like, the paper only goes to 100. So the true inequality is actually just 82 is less than, x is greater or equal to 82, but it has to be lesser than 101. Okay, why 101? If I wrote x is less than 100, that means she cannot get 100 for her paper because it will affect her chances of getting grade B, but it actually doesn't. Because if you see, if I substitute x equal to 100 and I work out the mean score, I will end up getting 86 as my mean score, which is actually still in the grade B course. So technically the next score, the maximum she can get for her last paper is actually just 100. So we'll just write that she cannot exceed 100. Any number greater than 100 she cannot get. Okay, so we're done with this part. Now we're going to be moving on to our last question for this video. Wei Ming and Joyce intend to buy a present for City. Wei Ming agrees to pay at least twice as much but at most $150 more than Joyce. Given that the present costs no more than $210, what is the greatest amount Wei Ming has to pay? Alright, for this one, just gonna, okay, let the amount Joyce is going to pay be X. Okay, so Joyce will pay X dollars. Okay, so over here Wei Ming is willing to pay at least twice as much, so we know that the least amount Wei Ming has to pay is just 2x. Okay, that's the least amount they have to pay. That's a model. I'm just gonna draw it out so there's a greater understanding here. But at most 150 more than Joyce. That means when Joyce pays X dollars, Wei Ming will also pay X dollars, but $150 more than Joyce. So that's how much. That's the most that Wei Ming has to pay. So we know that the present costs no more than $210. So we need to find out how much Wei Ming has to pay. So this is the greatest amount they have to pay. So together, when we add them together, is actually just Joyce's price plus Wei Ming's price, which will give us 2x plus 150. And we know that the gift costs no more than 210. So this amount that they are paying will be lesser than or equal to 210. Now to find how much Wei Ming has to pay, we just have to find x first. So we're just going to minus 150 on both sides, should give us 2x is lesser than or equal to 60. And then we just divide it by 2. X will be lesser than or equal to 30. So that is how much Joyce will be paying. Joyce will be paying $30. So we know that Wei Ming will be paying a price of x plus 150. So we just got to substitute x equals to 30. And Wei Ming will have to pay Wei Ming will have to pay $180. That is just how much he has to pay. There you go. That's the maximum amount he has to pay. Alright, we've reached the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.